This is why Columbia students are taking a stand against the Palestinian war, and you need to hear their powerful message. In the heart of Columbia University's campus, Hamilton Hall stands as a silent witness to the tumultuous events that have shaped the university's history. From civil rights movements to anti-war protests, this iconic building has been a rallying point for generations of students seeking to make their voices heard on issues of social justice and human rights. Recently, Hamilton Hall once again became the focal point of campus activism as students gathered to protest against the ongoing conflict in Palestine. The protests, which began as a grassroots movement among students, faculty, and staff, quickly gained momentum as news of the escalating violence in the region spread. Fueled by a sense of outrage and solidarity with the Palestinian people, demonstrators converged on Hamilton Hall, brandishing signs and chanting slogans calling for an end to the war and the protection of human rights. At the heart of the protests was a deep-seated concern for the welfare of civilians caught in the crossfire of the conflict. As reports of civilian casualties and widespread destruction emerged from Gaza and other Palestinian territories, students at Columbia felt compelled to speak out against what they saw as a grave injustice. "We cannot remain silent in the face of such blatant disregard for human life," said Sarah, a junior studying political science. "As members of the Columbia community, we have a responsibility to stand in solidarity with those who are suffering and demand an end to the violence." For many students, the protests were not only a means of expressing solidarity with the Palestinian people, but also a call to action for the university to take a more active role in addressing the root causes of the conflict. In an open letter to university administrators, protesters urged Columbia to divest from companies that profit from the Israeli occupation of Palestinian territories and to condemn the actions of the Israeli government. "The violence in Palestine is not a distant issue that we can afford to ignore," said Ahmed, a graduate student studying international relations. "It is a direct result of decades of occupation, discrimination, and systemic oppression. As members of the Columbia community, we have a moral obligation to stand up against injustice wherever it occurs." The protests at Hamilton Hall drew widespread attention both on and off campus, sparking intense debate and discussion among students, faculty, and alumni. While some expressed support for the demonstrators' demands, others criticized the protests as one-sided and divisive, arguing that they failed to adequately address the complexities of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. "We recognize that the situation in the Middle East is deeply complex and multifaceted," said Rachel, a sophomore studying history. "But that does not absolve us of our responsibility to speak out against injustice and advocate for peace and human rights." The protests at Hamilton Hall are a powerful expression of our commitment to those values. In response to the protests, university administrators issued a statement reaffirming Columbia's commitment to freedom of speech and expression, while also acknowledging the need for respectful and constructive dialogue on contentious issues. The statement emphasized the importance of fostering a campus environment where diverse perspectives can be heard and respected. "The protests at Hamilton Hall are a testament to the passion and conviction of our students," said President Lee Bollinger. "While we may not always agree on every issue, we are united in our commitment to upholding the principles of academic freedom, open inquiry, and civil discourse." As the protests continued, students at Columbia found themselves grappling with a range of emotions, from anger and frustration to hope and solidarity. For many, the demonstrations served as a powerful reminder of the university's long history of activism and social justice advocacy, dating back to the student-led protests of the 1960s. "We stand on the shoulders of giants," said Omar, a senior studying sociology. "The protests at Hamilton Hall are just the latest chapter in a long tradition of student activism at Columbia. We may face challenges and setbacks along the way, but we will never stop fighting for what we believe in." As the sun set on another day at Columbia, the protests at Hamilton Hall continued to resonate across campus, inspiring students to come together in solidarity with the Palestinian people and reaffirming their commitment to the values of justice, equality, and human rights. While the path ahead may be fraught with obstacles, one thing remains clear: the voices of Columbia students will continue to echo through the halls of Hamilton Hall and beyond, shaping the future of our university and our world.